The Red Lantern Motel didn't promise much. Its flickering sign barely held on to the last letters. RE_LANT__N, it read most nights, and nobody really cared to complain. It sat at the edge of the interstate like a forgotten afterthought, a place for travelers too tired to go further, and locals too desperate to go home. Lena Durrani had worked there for 3 years. Cleaning rooms, changing sheets, unclogging toilets. She was 28, always exhausted, always short on cash, and had long since memorized the exact number of ceiling tiles in every room. She didn't complain much anymore. Life had taken too much to leave her time for bitterness. It was 3:02 a.m. when the landline rang at the night desk. She'd just finished scrubbing mildew from room 11's bathroom. Her back ached, and her fingers were cracked from bleach. When she picked up, her voice came out hollow. "Red Lantern Motel, how can I?" "He's coughing up blood," said the voice on the other end. "Room 27. Lena's heart slammed against her ribs. She didn't wait for protocol. She grabbed the emergency passkey and sprinted across the empty hallway, the threadbare carpet muffling her steps. When she reached the door to room 27, she could already hear it, harsh coughing, wet and sharp, echoing off the walls. She knocked once. No answer. Twice. Still nothing. She turned the key and pushed open the door. The smell hit her first. Sweat, sickness, something metallic. A tall man was hunched over the sink, his face pale as paper. Dark stains spotted the white porcelain beneath him. He looked up, and in the flickering bathroom light, his eyes were wild with fever and fear. "I need to call an ambulance," she said, already reaching for her phone. "No," he gasped. "Please, don't. I need to sleep it off. Please." His voice was weak but urgent. Not the tone of a man in denial, more like someone hiding from something worse than pain. Lena hesitated. This wasn't right. Motel staff weren't supposed to be heroes. But something in her wouldn't let her walk away. She stepped in and closed the door behind her. Lena helped him back to bed, laid cold towels on his forehead, and sat with him through the night. The men didn't speak much after that. His name, he whispered, was Ethan. No last name. No ID. No wallet. Just a sleek black card in a designer wallet that looked absurd next to his vomit-stained t-shirt. By dawn, his fever broke. She'd taken 3 towels, 2 ice buckets, and nearly a gallon of Motel ginger ale to nurse him through. As he slept, Lena sat in the plastic chair by the window, watching the sunrise bleed through cracked blinds. And that's when she did it. She Googled the name on the black card, E. Harper. What came up made her stop breathing. Ethan Harper. Tech heir. Billionaire. Missing. Last seen boarding a flight to a private estate in Nevada. Scheduled to marry socialite Madison Wainwright the next day. Wedding called the merger of the year. But Ethan had never shown up. And now he was asleep in room 27, under a stained blanket and a fever-slick brow, in the cheapest motel off Route 90. Part 2, Runaway. By 9 a.m., Lena was already back at work, vacuuming room 10. But her thoughts kept drifting back to Ethan. When her manager, Greg, walked past and told her some high-end-looking fellas were in the lobby asking questions, her chest froze. She peeked through the laundry room door. 3 men in sleek black suits stood by the front desk, flashing photos. Ethan's face stared out from one of them. They weren't cops. She didn't know how, but she knew. Her first thought was, I should tell them. Her second, he begged me not to. That night, Lena slipped a note under Ethan's door, they're here. If you still want to disappear, window leads to the alley. I'll cover for you. 20 minutes later, she heard the quiet creak of the window sliding open. When the suits came knocking, she was in the room, fresh sheets in hand, humming like nothing had happened. Room empty. No trace. They left angry. Lena waited 10 more minutes before checking her phone. A new number. 1 line of text, need a ride. You're the only one I trust. Ethan waited behind a boarded-up gas station. His face was drained but clear now, the fever broken. He looked nothing like the tabloid headlines. Lena pulled up in her brother's old sedan, barely running on fumes. He got in without a word. They drove. 2 counties. 4 hours. 7 awkward silences. She finally broke it. Why are you really running? He looked out the window for a long moment. My father's empire is dying. He thinks marrying Madison Wainwright will save it. She's a senator's daughter. I'm the golden boy. It's a perfect story, except none of it is real. I barely know her. She barely wants me. We're pawns. And I'm done. You're running from a $1 billion wedding. To a motel cleaner with $37 in her bank account, she said dryly. He smiled. I'm running toward someone who didn't ask for anything except the truth. They stopped at a roadside diner. Over greasy pancakes, Ethan stared at the TV above the counter. News was still running the story, his face, his family, the search. Rewards $2 million now, he murmured. You're a walking fortune. I feel more human with you than I've ever felt at any gala. Lena didn't say anything, but her heart thudded hard. Then the waitress squinted at the TV, then at them. Hey, wait a second. They didn't stay to hear the rest. Back in the car, they drove into the night. Storm, sanctuary, and something more. The engine gave out around 2 a.m. on a dirt road. No service. No lights. Just thunder in the distance. Lena remembered something. An old church nearby, abandoned, but still standing. They walked through rain and mud, Ethan shivering, coughing again. The church was dark, but dry. Lena wrapped him in dusty choir robes and built a nest of old hymnals and prayer cushions. Lightning lit up stained glass windows. They talked all night. About failure. Family. Dreams they'd buried. Futures they didn't know they deserved. Lena told him about nursing school, how she dropped out when her mom got sick. About her father's drinking. About how the motel job was the only thing that ever offered her stability, even if it paid in scraps. Ethan listened. Then, for the first time, he reached out and took her hand. You saved me, he whispered. And not just from the fever. Final stand. By morning, they heard engines. The black SUVs had found them. Ethan looked at her. This is where I stop running. He walked outside to meet the men, his father among them. Press had arrived, cameras flashing. Microphones shoved toward him. He took a deep breath. My name is Ethan Harper. I am not marrying Madison Wainwright. I will not be part of a lie. I'm resigning from Harper Tech. My shares will go into a trust, one that builds clinics in low-income areas. Starting with the first one, where I nearly died, saved by someone who barely had a bed to sleep on. Gasps. Shouting. Paparazzi exploding. But Lena saw only him. Standing tall. Unafraid. Free. A new kind of rich. Months passed. The headlines died down. The clinic opened, inside that old church. Lena got her nursing license. Ethan bought a small farmhouse just outside of town. One day he showed up with flowers and tea and said, "Still got a lot to learn. But maybe I could start with this. Can I be yours?" She laughed. Cried. And said yes. Not to a billionaire. Not to a runaway. But to a man who chose kindness over power. And a motel cleaner who had more heart than 100 mansions. Ending narration, for voiceover. They say you never know who's checking in at 3 a.m. Sometimes, it's a ghost. Sometimes, it's a runaway heart. And sometimes, it's a second chance, wrapped in fever, fear, and fate. If this story touched you, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps more stories like this reach hearts that need them. Until next time, remember. The smallest acts of kindness can rewrite the biggest destinies.